Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout.
Good Thursday evening, Charlie. How does it go for you, my good friend?
It goes, my friend. And of course, I am your host, Charlie, and I'm joined once again by the prolific comedian himself, Zealeus.
What's up? So, what do you think of all the interesting random rain torrential downpours we've had over these last couple days?
Yeah,
that'd be nice. All of a sudden, it's just like, whoosh, the floodgates of hell have opened. Or heaven, depending on how you look at it.
Do you see my hair? This is because of the rain. I had to pick up Brody.
Oh, I thought maybe you took a free shower.
No. I had to pick up Brody, and just as I was getting out of the car with Finn, it starts downpouring. So I grab an umbrella, and I have Finn underneath one arm, and I'm holding the umbrella to get there. And then it starts really raining on the way back to the car, and yeah.
How'd the kids deal with the being downpoured on?
Brody was freaking out a little bit. Finn didn't give a shit because he was up in my arm, so he was way underneath the umbrella. But funny story, that umbrella actually has a leak because while I'm walking back, I feel this drip, 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 drip. I'm like, what the mother? Because it started really pouring.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, it was for a couple minutes there. It was pretty intense.
Oh, I know. I was walking in there.
I was not. I was indoors safely. I just heard the whoosh of awesomeness.
Whoosh is definitely a word I would use. I don't know if it was awesome because I was caught in it, but yeah.
Well, that's why I just don't go outside. I just teleport straight from here to my car. It works much better that way.
No.
If you use teleportation, it might as well be to keep yourself dry. I mean, it's a very legitimate use if you can use this superpower. Mm-hmm. So, we have something we need to do that we do every single podcast.
Indeed.
But I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I could have sworn I already saw you pour your dues. Or do you have another 2 dues to make this magic happen with?
No, I screwed up.
Oh, no!
I was so thirsty, I had to. So what I'll do is I'll just top it off.
Okay, fair enough. Yay! And there was much due to make the audience happy. I feel better now, and we can actually have a show. Because if the drips do not come out of the cans, it's not authentic. It's just not a real Thursday Night Hangout.
True.
And I would just say screw it and knock everything off the board and go home. It just would not be complete.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our first topic. And our first topic, of course, let's start off with Genyo Takeda of Nintendo. Now, this gentleman, after spending, I think it was like 46 years at Nintendo.
That's a long time.
He is finally stepping down. This dude is probably like the unsung hero of Nintendo. This is the guy who helped produce and direct Punch-Out, Pilotwing 64. He was also the guy behind the design of the N64 analog stick, which basically jump-started. There's not a control.
Everything.
I know. Every single controller now has an analog stick. You could thank this gentleman right here. But he is... You
know what? I love the N64. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but for me, it was perfect for playing GoldenEye 64. It was like the perfect mix between the yellow buttons for strafing, you had the yellow joystick and the Z in the back. Like, it was perfect for how my brain thought about playing FPSs.
Now here's the kicker. The analog stick, amazing. But this gentleman right here is also responsible for probably the most successful Nintendo console ever. And that, of course, is he was the man behind the creation and execution of the Nintendo Wii.
Yeah, so is he the brainchild of the actual, you know what, dudes? We need to put these in the retirement homes. So let's make some motion controls to make people be able to bowl and play tennis as if they're outside of their confines.
I don't know if he came up with that idea. However, he was the gentleman who decided, let's take this outside the box.
Fair enough.
So it's sad to see this gentleman leave. But after 46 years, I think this man has earned his right to take a rest.
I mean, I think that's probably pretty amazing where some of these corporations, if you look at, if they're missing like 1 or 2 key people, such as our friend here, Mr. Takeda, or who knows what other person from what company, if they'd be where they are today.
That's true.
You know, if you didn't have who was ever in charge of the PlayStation franchise and they didn't come off the PS2, would we still have PlayStation today?
Right.
And so you maybe had that right person at the right time who makes that franchise or the console, whatever it is, work. Without them, they'd just be a footnote in history.
Right.
I don't know.
I agree. So, good awesomeness that you did, and hopefully he actually gets some rest and no one bugs the crap out of him.
Farewell, and don't forget to write.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the next one is...
Oops, my mouse moved.
Yep, okay. This one is, so there was an infamous app out there called Titanium Stressor.
The Stressor of Titanium.
And that was created by a gentleman by the name of Adam Mudd. Now, the Titanium Stressor was a DDoS attack application. Basically, it puts extreme amount of pain on anything. It is reported that it was used for 1.7 million DDoS attacks, and those included assaults on Minecraft, RuneScape, and Xbox Live services. Now, he has been sentenced to 2 years for this in the UK. I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to look through here.
Well, I'd be curious because most of the time when you have the DDoSs, is usually you have somebody creates the DDoS, and then you have a third party who basically, for lack of a better way of putting it, they kind of buy time with that DDoS to basically utilize that to attack a service, such in this case, I suppose, Minecraft. I don't know why you want to attack Minecraft, but whatever. Is they kind of buy slots with these DDoS botnets or DDoSs to create that, to kind of attack these services. So without knowing much about this case, to kind of be curious of how much involvement did he have, like, creating the DDoS versus then after the fact being in control of actually manipulating it. How was it controlled?
I'll tell you right now.
Excellent.
In total, his tool was used to carry out 594 DDoS attacks between December 2013 and March 2015. The application proved very popular and had more than 112,000 registered users who took advantage of various promotions, including bulk discounts and a refer a friend program. And the gentleman who created it racked in nearly $500,000 in U.S. currency and Bitcoin.
See, that's different. To me, there's kind of like two levels. There's one if you create the DDoS software, that's one thing. But then if you take monetary advantage to basically sell what is obviously something nefarious going on. Now, I am surprised. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but just with what some other people have got, that he only got 2 years for the amount of damage that this has caused. And maybe it's because usually we hear about US-based news, where US-based hackers get a lot more time than 2 years for a similar type of...
I don't know. I guess it would depend on... The thing is, he's getting sentenced for 2 years. Now, that's just jail time. Who's to say if there's any lawsuits that are coming in for, for affecting services? This article did not mention that. It was just simply because of the actions he did and the tool that he created to allow individuals to be able to attack different networks and servers, he got 2 years. So basically, it's like he created the bomb. And he took credit for it, yet I don't know if he actually ever really utilized it. He just basically said, if you want to, give me some money and I'll allow you access to it.
So he still sold the bomb, so to speak, in this case.
He
facilitated the sale of it.
Kind of, yeah. He basically gave the ammunition. The plutonium rods. Or uranium rods, or whatever.
Well, the reality is, as the internet becomes a more integral part of our world, situations like this with DDoSs and botnets, and especially as they call it the IoT, the Internet of Things, it's only become more prevalent because these devices, all your, from your smartwatch to your smart toaster and your smart fridge, they are notoriously vulnerable to these attacks.
How about your car?
And your car, what was the, spoiler alert for Fast 7, just because Fate of the Furious. So one of the things they do is, and it's not the first movie to ever do it, is basically they take control of all the cars, entire city block, with remote control and use it to their own machinations.
I think that was actually a special report on it, like a national news thing.
Yeah, so it's just kind of funny where it's like, but that's legit. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's legit where, some of these remote controlled devices, they definitely have exploits that, less than scrupulous people can take control of. And, one fridge on its own isn't going to do anything. But when you get thousands upon thousands upon thousands of these Internet of Thing devices connected, that creates the craziness because you have no way of blocking it because it's from so many sources. That's what makes the DDoS so dangerous. It is because it's distributed. And so, if it's one person hacking you back in the day, okay, block one IP address, aka one computer. But now if it's coming from a million computers, what do you do? That's what makes it so difficult.
And the crazy thing is with TV and TVs, or because TVs are another thing that get hacked, whatever, your smart devices. The thing is, the vast majority of them are probably going to share the same SDK, if it specifically for like brands. So all the Samsung stuff is going to be on the same kind of software development kit. If you could click, if you can knock into that, you basically can do some crazy shit to any Samsung device.
Yep.
And so, but this guy, he of course did it, which this is simply, it's not trying to take control of everything. It's basically trying to shut things down. Which like you and I both said, I'm not exactly sure what the benefit of trying to stress out the Minecraft servers are, unless there's, I don't know, is there Minecraft like tournaments or something going on? I don't know what the relevance of that be.
Well, but even, I know we talk about esports a lot on the show, and that's one of the cases where we definitely see targeted DDoS attacks is, if you have a local tournament and you want one team to not play well because all of a sudden their ping goes up to 600 latency, send a little DDoS to them on the cheap, and all of a sudden now they can't play very well because they're being basically attacked.
Well, actually, I know that like during just like ranked scrimmages where you and a friend or whatever can basically join a team and then play on the system. Let's say Smite, because Smite's really the one I know a lot of. And yes, you're doing the internet, but the sanctioned events, like the spring split, or what's happening right now is called the Masters. They're all LAN events.
Gotcha.
So that there is no chance of someone dicking over another team by basically just, yes, the purple goat. Sam Grizzle, who's in the audience right now, he watches me play a lot of Smite while he plays Battlefield 1. And my favorite character right now is Keranos, which is basically like a man goat. But
he's purple.
The skin that I have gives him like a purplish tint, a silvery purple tint to it. So, but to combat that type of thing, they've basically, like right now, everyone who's in this tournament, which isn't a lot of teams, I think it's about, I want to say it's about 10 or 12 teams. They're all in Atlanta. They're all in the high-res esports area, and it's all LAN, which of course screws with people because, like you said, ping and latency and stuff is totally different when you're playing online versus a LAN where there's like none.
Yep.
And so how to correct for that type of thing. It's interesting when you see the pro players. But anyways, this gentleman has gotten 2 years in jail. I'm sure that there's more people out there. I mean, they've got other cases where individuals have used DDoS, but this is the first real action taken towards an individual who created a highly successful DDoS stressor. And so hopefully this gives a blueprint, at least in, well, Britain, because I'd say Europe, but Brexit. But at least, this kind of gives a precedent going forward, even though it's international. So.
Well, there's also a fine line here because, okay, so we have, obviously, in this case, I think it's pretty cut and dry that he created this DDoS device for nefarious purposes, making a profit out of it. But now you take a look at, for instance, white hat hackers. And a big thing that they do is called penetration testing, where basically they work with corporations, usually ones who have lots of money to spend, to basically, they call it pen testing to see what are your vulnerabilities. The potential pitfall of that is, as this person, you're also creating these programs that in the wrong hands could also be used for nefarious purposes. And kind of with the way some of the laws are written, people with legitimate good intentions with these programs, it could also be considered potentially a felon, depending on how these laws are interpreted with how they're using these applications, even if they're using them for legitimate purposes, but they're still creating these applications that could be used in a bad way in the wrong hands.
All right, so there's actually, when you have a white hat hacker or hacker group that comes in and hits up, some of the big money, what's up, Galactico Hoita.
Yeah.
a lot of the time when you have when you have a group like that or an individual that goes up against, to try to look for vulnerabilities, the contract is very, very specific. And basically, once you're done, all the code gets turned over to the company. You're not allowed to leave. The code presides inside that place unless you utilize some kind of like outside attack, and then of course they'll probably do some kind of like proxies or something so it looks like it's coming from the outside, but that code never leaves the building. Now there's yeah, exactly, there's always going to be a chance that someone utilizes that vulnerability where that code gets out. But when it comes to white hat hackers, they're usually, they're probably the top of the cream of the crop anyways, so it'd be very hard for them to take that. So it'd be very hard for nefarious reasons to be used unless they, I don't know, pen drive or something. Sam Grizzle says Stuxnet virus in Iran a couple of years back was criticized. Once you send it out, that code, everyone has it, unlike a missile blows up. So it's like a massive virus.
Well, I guess the one difference potentially with something like a virus like Stuxnet is you can at least patch for it. Or
if you know it's there.
What?
If you know it's there.
If you know, you're right. You're right. Stuxnet, people know it's there, so they've been able to patch for it. But there's tons. There's a very good chance we have still computers all over the world that are taken over because we don't have patches for them because we don't know they're there. And that's even a controversy.
Sometimes it's very easy to be little changes that you don't notice, and it just kind of builds up to.
Well, it's even a controversy in terms of patch reporting of, say you find a vulnerability for a corporation. The question is do you report that vulnerability only to the corporation and hope they patch it? Because chances are, if you found it, somebody else out there has too. Or do you make it public knowledge to really kind of force it up their ass to make them really make a change? Because it's private, they very well may not even care. And that's kind of, a bit of a controversy in the security world of what do you make publicly available versus keeping private with these vulnerabilities? And when is it ethical to release it to the public versus ethical to keep it just private?
Never release your vulnerability. No, you have to have, what is it called? What the fuck is it called? I can't remember what the damn term is, but it's got something to do with people being able to transparency. You have to have a certain level of transparency. However, no one's ever going to give you complete transparency, and no one is going to reveal all their weaknesses, especially if there's a potential that weakness could still be
exploited.
Exploited. There it is.
But on the other side, that's why some hackers believe that these exploits should be made public, because as long as they're made private, there's really little incentive to patch these, because it's kind of like, it's basically security through obscurity, where if nobody knows about it, then nobody's going to hack it. Whereas if you make it public knowledge, then, well, now I'm backed into a corner and I have to patch it because now the public knows about it.
Damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is, but it's one of those things, it's kind of both sides. I can kind of see both sides. Usually what I see, which seems like a good compromise, is you give them 30 or 45 days. Okay, here's the vulnerability. I'm giving you 45 days. If you don't do anything, then I'm going to make it public.
Well, what if...
It's kind of a compromise.
No, you should state that in 30 to 40 days, you're going to make this vulnerability public. Not, if you don't fix it, I'll make it public. Because if you fixed it and you make it public, then, okay, you've already fixed it.
Yeah, fair.
Okay, anyways, let's move on to the next topic, and that, of course, is, warm up. Some of you might remember M. Shamalama Ding Dong movie, sorry, I have to do that, called Unbreakable, which starred Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Then he went completely off the deep end, and his movies just went. Well, and then of course he just came out with the movie with McAvoy called Split.
Sure.
And so it's been teased.
Oh, yeah, I saw a lot of previews for that. Good gosh.
It's been teased, and it's been finally announced that there is going to be a sequel to Unbreakable. However, the sequel is actually going to be a sequel to Unbreakable and Split because of what happens at the end of Split. I've never seen Split, so I couldn't tell you what happens at the end, but it's supposed to be a freaky-ass movie.
So it's basically a sequel that combines both movie worlds into one.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, the problem with Split is, for going to the movies, I saw so many damn previews for this Split movie, where like I was burnt out from the previews of seeing like the same previews 1,800 times. Because they've been playing the previews for that movie for a long time.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the times, either someone in marketing just wants to go overboard with trying to promote something because they want attention on it, or they're promoting the hell out of it and showing you the good stuff over and over and over again because the movie actually sucks balls.
That's a lot of action movies.
Yeah, I know. And
There's all the action scenes in 2 minutes.
And you're like, oh my God, I gotta see what else they haven't put in there. And then you come out and go, they didn't have anything else but what was in the trailer.
I know what happens.
Ta-da! $12 out of your pocket.
Yeah.
I'll be very interested to see this because this is a comic booky type of series. Unbreakable, of course, is a gentleman who cannot. Okay, it's been like 15 years or something. So if y'all don't know about Unbreakable,
I think I brought the statute of limitations.
yeah, it's been okay. So Unbreakable has a gentleman who basically can survive anything except for one. He has one weakness. And then you have a guy who's actually his nemesis, who's played by Samuel L. Jackson, who is frail and literally he's made of glass. He's called Mr. Glass. Now, of course, the sequel of the movie, which will be coming out January 18th of 2019, is going to be called Glass. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Samuel L. Jackson is going to be the main focus of it. I was very interested to see if, I know Bruce Willis is in it, I'm not exactly sure about McAvoy, but if they're both in it, because McAvoy, from my understanding, is supposed to be a bad, bad dude. And of course, Bruce Willis is kind of the hero. So I'd be very interested to see how that all comes together.
Samuel L. Jackson's been making so many movies for so many years, it's ridiculous.
I know.
It's like, here's a script, here's a script, here's a script. I'll do them all, whatever, I don't care. As long as I get to golf, I'll do the movies, man.
As long as I get to put in a signature line, I'll do the movies.
This is true, too.
So anyways, I'd be very interested to see what happens. You know, maybe Shamalama Ding Dong has finally gotten back to the formula that made him that hot name before all his craziness.
But that is a pretty cool idea. They take basically two completely separate movies that, you know, when you're watching them, on the surface have nothing to do with each other, and then have a sequel that then combines both into one. And that's a pretty unique idea where if it works out, could actually be almost like the start of something new. I can see that kind of like revolutionizing, you know, some movie makers at least who have that ability to do that. So I think that'd be a cool idea.
But it would also be very, very dangerous because from my understanding, he kind of knew that he wanted to make a sequel that was going to combine the two when he was making Split.
Okay.
But, you know, if you kind of have like this, you know, let me put these two, I guess, origin stories and then combine them later, you have to have success in both of those in order to have that combination.
Well, Unbreakable was successful.
Yes.
I don't know if Split was actually successful in the box office.
Split, let's see, released in January, has earned more than $275 million, and it only cost them $9 million to create. So, Sam says, studios love anything with a name. Remakes are safe movie bets. True. And actually, this actually brings up an interesting question that I did not put down. So if Zealeus we'll just go down to the audience speak one, which is, that one right there. So first of all, if you have any topics, questions, or subjects that you'd like for us to talk about during the show, please hit us up either in the chat or if you've figured something out after the show, you can hit us up through any of our social media platforms. Of course, it's Facebook at Ultra Confusion, Twitter at Ultra Confusio. That's Ultra Confusion without the N because the N would break the internet. YouTube, Ultra Confusion LLC. And of course, if you're not watching this on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/alteredconfusion. So the question I have for you and for the audience is, Sam Grizzle says, remakes are a safe movie bet. So my question is, how many times is too many times? How many times can you get away with doing a remake or a reboot before people just go like apeshit crazy?
I think it depends because.
How about Spider-Man? Because they've restarted, what, 4 times now?
Well, I was going to go with Fast and the Furious because I just
Fast
saw
and
that.
Furious.
So.
But those are sequels.
True, you're right. There is a difference there. But if you also look at the Fate of the Furious and the Furious franchise, they basically had what really comes down to 3 reboots. You had the first Fate and the Furious.
Yep.
You had the second one, which then took Paul Walker and wasn't it like Ludacris? Not Ludacris.
I don't know.
One of the black guys. I don't know. One of the rapper dudes.
Tyrese? Or...
Yeah, one of the rapper guys. I don't know. I don't know my rappers, so I don't know their names. So, and that was pretty different than the first Fast and the Furious. Then you take the third one, which is actually probably more of a sequel to the first one, because now you're back to actual race car drifting and stuff with Tokyo Drift.
Which is, everyone says, should not have the name of Fast and Furious.
It's not canon, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally not canon.
And then you get to the fourth one, where all of a sudden you throw in the Rock, and all of a sudden they become basically a group of super secret James Bond type of spies. So it's almost like 3 different. I mean, they're all Fast and the Furious, but it's almost like 3 different installments of the same series. And really, from 4 on, they've kind of been the same. We are a group of badass mofos who save the world from annihilation.
Okay, so the question then becomes, how many times can you do a reboot or remake? Or is it just simply a matter of how close you put them together? Could you get away with relaunching series after, I don't know, 10, 15 years and be away with it? Or do you look at Spider-Man? Spider-Man's been relaunched 3 or 4 times in the last 15 years.
The problem with Spider-Man is I just don't care about Spider-Man. I'm gonna be honest. Spider-Man I don't care about anymore. Batman I don't care about anymore.
Oh, after when Christian Bale was done, I was done.
You know what? I actually don't care.
What?
Is because they're relaunch of origin stories. The reason I actually still like Fast and the Furious is because it's continuing. I mean, I kind of said they're different installments, but it's still an overarching storyline. Whereas when you get to the Batman redo story, you get to Spider-Man redo story. Even you take X-Men, they kind of started over some with some of the timeline BS, but it wasn't.
Futures past.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I'm trying to think how to put this correctly. It was a reboot of sorts, yes, but it still fit the story because they threw it in because of the time travel. It's not like they just said, we're going to forget everything that happened. They forgot everything that happened because there was time travel. Whereas Spider-Man, it's like, we're just going to forget everything that happened with, what's the actor?
Uncle Ben?
Yeah. And so that's where those reboots I don't care about. And I feel like I've seen this how many times? So I like the continuation stories much more than reboots.
Okay, then, and I know we're going down a deep, dark rabbit hole. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, at any time, you can absolutely chime in and we will say exactly what you're saying in the chat room.
Provided that we get to read the text first.
True. So, but okay, so you mentioned canon, okay? So one of the biggest issues that a lot of individuals have with the movie franchise Star Wars is that between, basically, let's see here, that was 7 was the one that's already been released,
yes.
And 8's on its way. So right before 7, there was a lot of this built-up storylines, universe, all that stuff, and they basically threw out all of that, saying it's no longer canon.
The extended universe.
Right, exactly. So how does that, if you are a true fan of a series, right,
yeah.
and you really get into it, are you to me, that would absolutely 100% piss me off. Now, I never really got into the extended universe, so I don't know all the ins and outs. And I know that there were some shit-tacular characters that were created that were just so half-assed it's not even funny. However, there was a lot of rich history and character creation, and really evolved and added extra twists and turns and complexity to the universe.
Well, the big thing that they really got to expand upon was especially this story of basically Anakin Walker, between when he became basically the end of, what was it, episode 3 and the start of episode 4, was what a lot of the EU did, is it kind of helped to try to fill in those gaps of what was going on.
Sam Grizzle says, Star Wars will never stop. It's not a movie, it's never-ending 2-hour episodes. True. Hey, does anyone in the audience know, and maybe Zealeus knows this as well, but So you know you have all those animated ones, the Clone Wars
Yeah.
and whatnot. Is that considered canon, or has that been thrown out as well?
I honestly don't. Like, I know what you're
'Cause
talking about.
I know they got Star Wars Rebels that's actually still going on. I think it's on Disney, whatever.
I've heard they're really good, by the way. the
Yeah.
animated series.
They're absolutely phenomenal. But my question is that part of the extended universe that also got got kicked
Shaft,
out?
yeah. I don't know. I don't care enough about Star Wars myself. I mean, I like watching the movies and stuff, but as far as what's canon and whatnot, I don't know. But in a weird psychological way, it would bother me too. Because, let's be honest, I'm not going to start reading Star Wars fiction, but if I did, just psychologically, I would definitely be much more adverse to reading the non-EU stuff. So when I say EU, that's something... Is that
Extended universe.
Thank you, extended universe.
Ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen, EU
Yes.
is extended universe.
Yes. So I'd be much more averse to reading the extended universe stuff. This because no, it's not the canon stuff, and I know it's a silly psychological thing, but maybe that's what Disney wanted. I don't know.
But it's the thing that I think bothers a lot of individuals, and I could be totally wrong, but I think the thing is that was licensed. Okay, it had the Star Wars license on it.
Sure.
It wasn't fanfic.
Yeah.
It was. These people wrote Star Wars branded stuff, and individuals then went and expanded upon it, and then you have these you have all these fans who have spent years upon years upon years soaking up this stuff because they can't get enough of Star Wars, and then basically get a metaphorical kick to the nuts, and maybe in some ways a literal kick to the nuts when there's basically like, you remember how awesome this was, or the creation of this character was? Yeah, fuck it, it's done. Bye-bye now. There'll be 9. I can already answer that question.
Well, are they going to do more? That's what I mean.
I think they'll do standalones. I think the Rogue One, and then of course you got the Han Solo one coming up.
So my real question is, will they do another trilogy after the 9th episode to continue the actual Star Wars? I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved Rogue One. I'm sure the Han Solo one will be great too. Are they going to continue doing these 3-episode trilogies to continue the? Okay, yes, Rogue One's canon, but to continue the canonical 3-story arc trilogies.
I think it all depends on how 9 ends, because as has been hinted, the time of the Jedi is done, and so the Jedis should die, and so should the Siths. So it'd be very interesting to see how they would do that. Now, of course, you could take the Mass Effect route and kind of say it's in the same universe, but it's on like this side.
Well, it's kind of what, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings almost. Like, that's kind of what it's going for, is like the Lord of the Rings, and that's, the whole lead up of the Lord of the Rings is basically it's now the time of man. You no longer, the elves lead, the dwarves fade away, all the magic is gone.
The dwarves go under the mountain.
Sure. And that's what happens in Lord of the Rings, is it's the time of man in the same way, because you got to remember, Star Wars is in the past, not the future.
Right.
So that's how we got to where we are now, is because the time, or maybe there are Jedi now, and they're just, secreted away in a closet. Who knows?
Interesting. I don't know. We'll find out.
They're actually Jack Bauer, probably. Let's be honest.
Oh, Lord.
That's how he does everything he does. His super abilities of mind control over the great terrorist.
All right, speaking of canon, we're going to go back to the topic that's at the top of that list right there. And that, of course, is Halo 6.
6 of Halo.
Halo 6 is good, and this is going to be crazy, guys. Idea. It's going to solely focus on Master Chief. There's not going to be any random-ass characters. You are going to play as Master Chief from beginning to end.
Are you excited about this?
I will be if they actually give me a complete fucking game. Because I'll be totally honest with you. Maybe I've been living on a rock when it comes to Halo, but I have not heard a damn thing about the continuation of Halo 5. Now, like I said, I could be totally wrong. Maybe there's been a bunch of expansions or whatever that's actually completed the story arc that they were trying to do in Halo 5. And hopefully, if they have, they've actually created the story up to the point that it matches what the hell is going on in the damn commercials. Because, holy shit, I don't... It bugs the crap. I mean, this will always go back to the anime called Berserk, okay? And that is, you cannot, for artistic reasons, end a series without completing the arc of where you started at. Okay?
Did you watch Claymore?
Yes.
Claymore comes pretty damn close to that too.
But there is some closure to it.
There is
some closure.
There's some,
there's none.
Claymore comes pretty close.
It depends on the character you're following.
Okay.
There's certain characters, they do have a completion of the arc, and there's
That's
other ones
fair.
you're kind of like, but I think they did that so that they could leave it open. Berserk, it was an artistic ending of, fuck it.
Yeah.
of
And now
course-
they have this whole like weird now they got this Berserk and that Berserk and this Berserk and come out with
all right,
another Berserk.
No. So what they've done, and this is pissed off a lot of people too. It's okay. You've got the anime series. Okay, then you got the OVAs, which is basically the combination of a lot of the episodes and just to make it more streamlined. They didn't really add anything new. However, they're going to create a new series called, I believe it's called the Black Swordsman. Hello, Lulalua,
Lalua 24.
Where it's going to be strictly from Guts' point of view and not whatever the hell they were, I don't know what the hell they were doing. But anyways, so Halo 6 is supposed to solely focus on Master Chief. I'm hoping that the story is awesome. I know a lot of people have issues with Studio 343 simply because it's not Bungie. However, I didn't, before Halo 5, I was okay with the way that the story went. However, Halo 5 was literally like getting punched in the face over and over and over again. And it's just, as many people might know, I love single player. I'm very hesitant about multiplayer. There's only one exception to the rule. And that, of course, really is Smite. That's the only really online game I actually play. With the exception of those stupid games that are online always, but it's a single player game.
You used to play Defiance a lot.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
When was the last time you played Defiance?
I don't know if it's still up. It's probably still up, but I haven't played it since the show got canceled.
That was a fun game. You got me into that one.
It
Anyway,
was fun because anyone could play it and find a role in it, and you could solo, and you could hop in and hop out because there's instance like radius areas that you could come in there, you can help, you'll share loot, and then you pop back out.
And you could
then
suck and nobody cared.
Exactly.
That was the best part.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you died.
There's
Well,
no like your DPS is too low. Get out, noob.
There's not a ton of LFG going on or any of that stuff. So, yeah. Anyways, I'll be very interested to see how this pans out. I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I know that there's probably a 99.8% chance that I'll hear about how good or how bad the game is from my dad before I actually get to play the game.
There you go.
Because my dad will get it on release day. He is a first-person shooter-aholic. Well, first-person and third-person shooter-aholic. He's got all the Gears of War. He's got all the Halos. He's tried Titanfall, but it's like, I don't like playing online because these people are idiots.
Yeah. Now, does he play like, say, Mass Effect? Because it's an FPS RPG, though.
No, I tried to get him into Mass Effect, but I think he just wants that mindless violence.
I
don't think he wanted to really go, well, this is like, this will change your future if you say that you would like to have her, I don't know, chicken salad sandwich instead of stabbing her in the eye. I don't know, I'm coming up with random shit. But anyways, but yeah, I don't think my dad just kind of liked to zone out. That's why he was huge into Diablo back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Is that you could just, hop on there and just kill monsters after monsters
That's
after
fair.
monsters.
Yeah. I feel that, mindless zerging and just killing stuff. I like it too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on to the next topic, and that, of course, is the SNES Classic. Now, of course, there's been lots and lots of rumors that the SNES Classic is coming out. Now, for those out there who remember the NES Classic, I know it's been so long, not really, but anyways, the NES Classic, I think, lasted less than a year. I think it was right.
Not too long ago, yeah.
And then, of course, Nintendo decided to cancel it. Now, a lot of people are like, excuse me, there were still like people waiting for their machine, and you decided to cancel it. And a lot of individuals have basically voiced that they think that, and I'm in that same camp, I think that the NES Classic was a terrible idea for the get-go. And for them, but
you're a very unique individual.
No, I'm just saying that the thing is, there's like the 30 of the best games ever for the NES. How can you make that type of statement? That's not possible. The library is too big.
How else
SNES
do-
library is too big.
But as an advertiser, 30 of the okayest games ever for the NES.
30 of the most well-known games. How about that? Instead of the 30 best games. Because that is completely...
Charlie,
What?
if you're thinking of the masses and you're an advertiser, which do you think is going to sell more?
What's going to cause the less backlash as a result, though? I understand that the day one
What,
sales...
the 0.5% who actually have that?
No, dude, no. It's much bigger than that. But anyways, yes, I understand that if you say the 30 greatest games, there's going to be a lot of people who want to jump on board day one. However, if you are one of those individuals, yourself included, who decide that you do not want to buy it day one, and then people start going, what the hell? Vast majority of these games are sucky bullshit. Then you basically killed yourself, killed a lot. But if the thing is, and this is why Nintendo does so well, they have this crazy ass, very limited, restricted, rare supply line, where they know what the desire, the demand is, and then they give you a third of that. So people go batshit nuts and try to claw individuals' eyes out when the next shipment comes into a Target or a Walmart or wherever, a Fry's or whatever the hell you get your.
You know what I should do is I should just go on to Craigslist and just start selling Raspberry Pi NESs.
Yeah.
I mean, you could build your own.
You'll probably want to do it on like Craigslist or eBay because if
I said Craigslist. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, I want to go.
Sorry, I read Amazon and the thing. I was like, dude, don't put it on Amazon.
No, Amazon would shut you down.
By the way, for those of you out there who are looking for Nintendo Switch, apparently the GameStops around the U.S. are going to get a new supply of Switches in the very near future. Now, of course, the fact of the matter is the vast majority of those are already going to be claimed because there are people who are still on a waiting list, just like individuals still waiting for their NES Classic, which will not be coming out because it's already been canceled. Now, of course, there's rumors coming out that an SNES Classic is coming out. And so the question I have for you and you is, after seeing how bizarre-ass crazy they basically screwed themselves with the NES Classic, would you even want to try to get this SNES Classic?
If I had any interest in these classic devices, I would just build a freaking Raspberry Pi and turn it into an emulation device for $100.
Now here's the thing. Here's the flip side of it. There's a lot of individuals out there who want these things simply because they're going to be collector's items. Because they know that Nintendo already screwed everyone over once. They know that Nintendo's going to do it again. So as soon as there's a way to pre-order it, they're going to pre-order 5 of them and then sell like 3 or 4 of them and keep 1 so it'll appreciate value, and then they'll turn around and sell it down the way for a shit ton of money.
I mean, hell, it seems like, I don't know if this is, the way they want to do it, you could just sell a frickin' NES box for $100.
Yep.
Doesn't have any damn games on it.
Yep.
And all it has is an Ethernet cable in the back that just hooks to the NES console store. Every game on there is $10.
But that would be too... No, they can't do
that.
Like,
they would make money hand over fist if they did that. Same for the SNES. Okay, it's more powerful. $125 for the SNES. I don't know. Well, okay, same thing. $10 every game. My God, that would sell like...
True. However...
Like Casper would be burnt.
Right, but okay, in all... to be completely honest with you, a lot of the reasons why you don't see full libraries of the SNES or NES or any of the older consoles is simply because of compatibility and the ability and compatibility of the hardware. Because back in the day, you had a red and a white that goes in to the back of your TV, or you had to get the coax adapter to plug it in.
Yes.
Now, of course, you have HDMI and all that stuff, and I'm going to be honest with you, there are certain games that do not fare well when you try to upscale them like that and go. So they have to make little tweaks and little squeaks.
Sure.
Tweaks and squeaks, and the other thing is that certain games, you don't know who still owns the rights to them. So to republish them, you would need to You'd have to jump through a serious number of hoops. Sam Grizzle asks, who buys those things? I wouldn't have guessed old cheesy gaming would still be popular 25 years later. That, my friend, I understand where you're coming from. However, there are people who scream for nostalgia, and Zealeus is right. He said nostalgia, bro. The thing is, and this is also a very dangerous thing, there are a lot of games out there that have a close place in my heart and Zealeus's heart. Now, of course, if we were to actually go back and play them, we're probably going like, oh my God, what was wrong with me back then? It's because, we filled in some of the blanks. And now when we go back, we're like, oh yeah, that was it. Diablo 2 is a good example. Now, of course, the quintessential example, and this is why Square Enix and Sony has been trying to drag their feet through the mud for so long, and that's Final Fantasy VII. Because there was a lot that was missing. However, it was such an experience that had never been done before. You got so attached to certain characters. You wanted to jump through the screen and cry when you hear Aerith's theme song and other stuff.
And to be fair, those games at the time were still phenomenal games, but when you play a game that's, 15, 20, 30 years old, I don't even know how old they are now, they just don't always, it's hard to stand the test of time.
Sure.
It's just, you look at graphics, Diablo 2 is made for 640 by 480 screens. It just looks terrible at 1080p. It's all like pixelated and shit. It just doesn't look good. Same thing with Final Fantasy VII, even back then, you look at the screenshots, they're blocking stuff. And you compare that to like a Final Fantasy 15, which is gorgeous. And yes, it can have a phenomenal storyline and everything, but I know we love to have, it's the storyline of our graphics, but at some point, we had that certain expectation of graphics. It just happens.
Well, especially if the storyline, if it's an existing storyline, like with Diablo 2 or Final Fantasy 7, we know in our brains, in our mind, in our memory, we know that. So when we go back to that, because we've played the newer games, we want that look, but the feeling of that. Unfortunately, when you start going back, you're like, oh shit, yeah, that really didn't make any sense. Like, for the love of all that's holy, why the hell could we not just Phoenix down Aerith after Sephiroth stabbed her through the chest? Sorry, spoiler alert, but it's been way past the point of spoilers.
Well, I think the biggest rose-tinted glasses example is World of Warcraft Vanilla.
Yep.
It
was so good, they screwed it up with all these releases and expansions. Blah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm one of those people who I look back on, World of Warcraft, 40-minute raids, frickin' multi-core, and Blackwing Lair, and all that shit as the zenith of my gaming, prowess, whatever.
The scheduling of raids.
Oh God! But then when I think about it now, and I look back at that, I'm like, how in God's name did we get together 40 scrubs, 4 nights a week for 4 hours of time, frickin' DKP and all this BS, and then you also look back at the raid mechanics. It was literally don't stand in this pool of lava and the raid will win. That's the mechanic. So at the time, it was phenomenal, and I love that timing of gaming. But you look back now, I'm like, good God, I never want to go through that again. And it's, a lot of these video games, it's the same way. Where at the time, they filled that gaming need that we needed.
Yes.
And they're great and phenomenal, and there's games out today just like that too, where we play them today. It's like, holy shit, this is the bee's knees. This game will be the best game ever. And guess what? 20 years later, you'll be like, really? That was the best thing ever? It's just the cycle of gaming. And I hope that happens too. I want to be able to get 20 years from now, and gaming has evolved. I don't know if it's graphically, because every year it's the pinnacle of graphics, or storyline, or whatever it is, but somehow gaming gets...
Total immersion.
Yes. Where 20 years from now, we look back, we're like, man, gaming really has moved on. In a good way, hopefully.
You'll be playing all your games in a chip that's in the back of your head.
You're just going to sit here, and you play by blinking your eyes and moving your eyes.
You don't even have to do that. It's just simple thought. There, I just completed level 12.
Again.
Anyway, so if they actually do this SNES Classic, I'll be very interested to see if I'm almost 100% sure there's going to be some sort of backlash. I just don't know how big it is going to be. And also, if they're doing this, here's the thing that's always been an issue with me and Nintendo's distribution. In my honest opinion, now, of course, I'm not a high-powered executive for any of these big companies, but I understand that you need to have that want, that demand. But I think Nintendo takes it to an extreme. And because they take it to extreme, they're actually losing a shit ton of money, because you have these people who basically poach off of all these places, pay the regular price, and then turn around and make a hell of a profit off of it. So Nintendo's strategy is actually losing them a shit ton of money, because of the amount of scarcity they're forcing down our throats.
Now here's a question too.
Yes.
So with the NES Classic console, it's almost like Nintendo like pulled the rug out from under us. Because you kind of expect when it comes out as popular as this, you could probably buy it like 2 years later.
Right. It was like less than a year. They already gone, no, we're done.
So if SNES Classic comes out, is the public, myself, because I'm going to be, are going to be so skeptical, we're going to be like, whatever, it's going to be out from the market in a year anyways, why do I even care? Why do I even want to try getting a console? So I'm going to be cynical about it if it comes out, and I'm going to assume Nintendo is just going to yank the cord on it in a year anyway, so why am I even going to try to get it?
I would be very interested to know this, because as I stated, there's, in order to get those games on there, you have to basically reclaim or regain the licenses for these games. You have to reach out to Hasbro or not Sony, Square Enix or whatever the old companies are, Hudson. My question is, did they have a limited time contract to see if it worked? And then once it was over, Nintendo pulled it.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know. I don't like how they did it. I, to this day, do not like their distribution system. So we'll see what happens if they actually come out with the SNES Classic.
Right, look at the Switch and how that's still so short on.
Speaking of the Switch, a very interesting statistic has come out, which is kind of mind-boggling. But the Zelda game is actually outselling the Switch.
I did see that
in units sold. So my question is everyone just anticipating that at some point they're going to gain the Switch, so they're going ahead and buying Zelda? Because that doesn't make any sense, because it's not like Zelda is going to go away. Or are they going to try to pull an NES Classic on all their titles? After X amount of time, it's gone!
If that happens, I'm sailing ship on Nintendo. I'm done.
And well, if they do that, then Microsoft and Sony will be like, oh, yes, I see. This is good. We have to start doing that.
Halo 6 is only available for a year, and then you can never play it again.
Sam Grizzle, do Asian markets keep Nintendo in business? Their popularity seems to have waned in the U.S. Okay, so I would say their popularity in like basically 18 and over has definitely waned a shit ton. I think that Nintendo and Sony definitely thrive more in the Asian markets than they do in the North American markets. I would say Sony's it's pretty close in both. But yes, I think that the Nintendo probably thrives more over there, because one of the things, and I know this is I don't know, this may be known or not, is that the game selection is different outside the U.S. as it is in the U.S. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, the U.S. is the land of the free. We can get every single game we want. That's not true. We don't restrict as bad as some of the European nations. Like, you'll never see, there's certain games that you'll never see in Germany. I think it's basically not Nazi enemy games, but something close to that. I know there was a game, I think it's like Sniper Elite or something, that's not allowed in a lot of the European nations because they saw it as a sim to train snipers. But yes, there are games that exist outside, and I think that those games definitely influence the ability and popularity of certain things, especially Nintendo.
Well, yeah, especially that's why we call them JRPGs. Japanese RPGs, because a lot of the 100+ hour RPGs where you can collect, 8 billion characters, and if you don't do it just right, you don't collect them all, as Charlie knows all too well.
Suikoden.
They're called JRPGs because they come out of Japan.
I had 106.
And that's where, like, on your little tablets here, is a lot of the, not necessarily the RPGs, but the gacha games, where you're trying to collect all your 100+ characters. Again, a lot of those originate in Japan. That's where most
Marvel Puzzle Quest, you son of a bitch.
I played a lot of Final Fantasy.
What was the name of that game?
Oh my god! Well, it's now called like Final Fantasy Union, I think now.
Yeah.
It swapped names again. That originally out of China. I mean, not China, out of Japan. It's kind of annoying too, because if you try following like the boards, is the American versions typically are behind the Japanese versions. And as far as, the big thing in gacha games is you're trying to get awards. You want to get, the 5-star elemental of Doom.
You want to get that super uber duper exclusive edition character that might be the one that's going to set you over the top.
And typically, they're a lot more generous in Japan than the U.S. with the giving of the free characters or treasure chest or whatever you're trying to get. So,
because we live in a capitalistic society where everyone has to make a shit ton of money. Well, someone's got to spend a shit ton of money so that someone else can make some money somewhere.
Exactly. So it's even in those games on your tablets, you still have the dichotomy between Japanese and U.S. players.
Oh, absolutely. Right. So we'll see. I don't know. We're going to skip down to, there he is right there. All right, so let's talk about online presence ramifications.
Wait, there's ramifications to my online presence?
Yes. Okay, so
I don't think that's ramifications.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
I
okay.
misspelled it because I was trying to go. Just
Okay.
it's phonetically close to ramifications.
There we
okay?
go.
Jesus. All right. Anyways, someone in the chat can tell me how to spell ramifications. We'll change it on the fly. Anyways, so here's the. Oh my God, that's even worse. So, as you might know, there are thanks to the amazing social network internet connection where as soon as you say something or do something, it's immediately out there forever. Now, of course, you have. So one of the things, and Zealeus made me aware of this, and this happens a lot, you have individuals who are part of an organization or a team, let's just say an esports franchise, and they decide to play on their personal channel. But yet they're still on that team. If that individual then says, racist stuff or is a bigot or sexist or something like that, they are seen as still a member of that team, which of course then puts that team under a bad light, which means that the team's going to have to retaliate and go, you're out. So, of course, and of course with Alter Confusion, anything that I do, if you know Alter Confusion and you see me do some dumb shit, then of course you could basically hark back to Alter Confusion, which will hurt my feelings really bad.
No!
Hopefully I'm not too crazy or bad. I try to keep my online presence strictly professional.
Very professional.
Oh, no,
Really?
no, you got to right click on it. There you go. There we go. Is it good? You son of a bitch! Oh God, he got us good. Axel Thelm, you jerk. All right, thanks, Axel Thelm. He gave us the that stupid link that takes you to Google and just types it into Google. Anyways, oh, salty. Anyways, so the question is, I mean, look, let's be honest. People have to understand that in the age of instant information, anything you say, someone's going to have a problem with it. And if you have these potentially terrible or wrong thoughts, you got to figure out a way to rein that shit in.
Well, it's, I know we talk about esports, but even I was talking to Charlie about out, is probably most of us when it comes to work, the same thing could potentially apply. I mean, it's clearly written in our policy handbook at work where, you are an extension of your work outside of work. And whenever you post to your social media, Facebook, whatever, that could come back to haunt you. So even, that's one of the reasons I don't post about politics on Facebook, is because, depending on where you work, and it's not important, not just today, but next year or the year after that or 5 years from now, you never know where you're going to end up in life down the future. And what you say today could very easily come back to haunt you down the road. And so you just got to be careful of what you do with your, not only how do you spell words, because people will look at that in your resume, but also what you're saying online to make sure it doesn't come back to haunt you. I mean, when I was interviewed for my current job, Charlie, I believe, got a phone call. So, these people, they're looking at your social media, they're looking at all this stuff, like, what is this person like online? Because most likely that's a reflection of who they are in real life. So you kind of have to be careful of that. And I know it's something we preach to our kids at school, like, hey, this is real, be aware of it. And, obviously they say, like, Snapchat is deleted in 5 seconds, not a big deal. People can't take screenshots of that, yo.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's be totally honest with you. There's a way around everything. You know, with the Snapchat thing, you have, you know, screenshots. I know that they've tried to, like, you know.
You do get a notification if you use
now make a notification.
Yeah, if you use the power, you know, where's my power button? The power home button, you do get a notification. The other person will get a notification saying they took a screenshot. But what is stopping you from having a second camera open and just taking a picture of that screenshot? Not a whole lot, I'm going to guess. So, like everything, there's always a way around it. And that's the catch. There's always a catch to the catch. You know, with this esports person, you know, his potential career, I don't know if he would have been, you know, the next great Barracuda. Probably not, because there's only one Barracuda.
One Barracuda! And his girlfriend, Derpy Bear.
But, you know, one wrong decision, you know, one stupid decision like that could derail your entire future. And you just have to be aware of that. And that's just, you know, some people, it's not always fair. I don't know, maybe it's not, but that's just the reality of the world we live in.
I'm going to be totally honest, and this probably will get me in a little bit of trouble, but I'm going to be... People of the world, you're allowed to have your own opinion. You have to be smart about voicing said opinion, because there's definitely a certain place and a time to voice stuff, but you can't, for the love of God, do not be sucked into the herd mentality and become sheeple, where you have to just be like everyone else.
How is everyone else?
Mindless drones that are completely controlled by media and social trends. Don't die on me, Zealeus.
I have nothing to say to that. Well, yeah. I have lots to say to that. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anyways, so the thing is, you got to be smart, okay? If you're tied to any type of organization, or you can easily be tied back to an employer that has, you know, be it government affiliations, religious affiliations, whatever type of affiliations, national affiliations, that kind of stuff. You have to know that you got to be on your best behavior, especially in a world where everyone can basically catch you on their camera phone.
Well, and that's the first thing, I mean, when we interview, that's the first thing I know that people look at is they'll find you on Facebook. And granted, it's their public profile, so I mean, I'm not Facebook friends with you, but we're still going to see what's on your public profile. And, you know, see if there's anything sketchy on there. And guess what? If we see, you know, that picture of you
plunging a toilet.
What?
Plunging a toilet that's also attached to a bunch of drunken pictures of people clinking red wine bottles together. That could look bad.
Yes. Then we're like, something kind of sketchy here. And that's all it takes not to get the interview, is one thing like that.
Side note, though, those little canisters that hold your extra razor blades in it, don't let that get flushed down the toilet, because it will break the toilet.
So
I know from a friend.
I was going through I found some pictures in a box the other day. And I was looking at them like, thank God I didn't have Facebook back then. Like some of these pictures, I'm like, man, I would have been in trouble. Yeah, like I'm just going to keep these in the box for posterity's sake. But that's also a little bit of a difference because, so yes, we have our cell phones that take pictures. Back in the day, we could take a picture with a 35 millimeter camera and know it'd be private to us. Nowadays, I'm not going to take a picture of anything I see with my phone, but I know if I take a picture with my phone, it's probably going to go public. So in a way, you know, you see pictures of everything we do, but in a weird kind of way, it maybe also makes sure that if you're aware and cognizant of things, that you're not going to take pictures of things you shouldn't either. Whereas in the past, you may have taken that picture because you know it's easy to keep it private.
Right, right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the 9:05 thing, and we're going to try to actually, you know, keep it on schedule. I know that we love to talk, and I know we love to go over the time limit, but we're going to try to structure this so that it actually ends at 9:15. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you view it. First of all, if you have, at any point, you want to have a conversation about any topic, being one that we have here today, one we've had in the past, of course, all of our talks are on YouTube. That's Ultra Confusion LLC. Understand that we are more than happy to give you that conversation. So here's the deal. we have a Patreon page. Patreon, of course, is a monthly subscription for us. It's a monthly subscription where you donate money on a monthly basis to Alter Confusion to help with the upkeep of equipment, help us recoup the cost of conventions and whatnot. If you do not feel that you are comfortable with doing a monthly subscription, of course, you can always, at any time, do a one-time donation if that's the way you would like to do it. We're not asking for a set amount of money. You can donate any amount of money that you feel comfortable with. If you do not feel comfortable with donating money, you can, of course, hit us up and see. I know I need to make the Amazon wish list.
We're close.
We're very close to publishing the Amazon wish list because I know a lot of people out there want to see, okay, what kind of equipment are you looking for? Maybe I can help in that regard. So we're going to try to create that and then display it to you. If you want to help Alter Confusion some other way, the easiest way to help us is when you see us do like Twitch shows, if you can host our stream. If you see something that you like that we've tweeted out or we've put on Facebook or is on our website, please share it with others. We love the fact that you like it or favorite it and all that stuff, but it would mean the world to us if you would then share it with everyone else so that we can help build a community so that we have a lot of conversation. I know there's some individuals out there who love Alter Confusion Thursday Night Hangouts the way they are because it's more intimate because there's not a lot of people in the chat room. However, I feel that the more people we get in the chat room, the better quality we have and the bigger discussion, and maybe we can open it up to have more than just one Thursday Night Hangout with me. I know that Zealeus probably does not want to do a ton more Thursday Night Hangout-esque shows, but I'd be more than open to that. Speaking of which, I know that a lot of you may be very aware that Alter Confusion, the website, has seen very little action as of late, and also there's been very few reviews. There is a logical reason for that, and that is because after 10 years, I have basically burnt myself out. Now, I'm not saying Alter Confusion is closing. I'm just saying that that Alter Confusion is going through a transition. And I have a feeling that there's going to be more emphasis on video than there is on the written text. So we might have a more active YouTube channel than we have on the website. And of course, anything that's posted to YouTube gets shared on Facebook and Twitter, and of course will be on the site as well. So we'll see. I'm still trying. I'm still messing around with stuff. You probably won't see much action on the website or in the videos until after MomoCon because Zealeus, myself, and Jesse are trying to prepare for our panel at MomoCon called Video Games Today. That will be happening on Friday night. I cannot remember the dang time. Is it 7:30 to 8:30? Or is it 8:30 to 9:30? I don't know. Look it up. It's probably on the Facebook page. They gave me the wrong link. They're like, here, you can be the admin for your MomoCon Facebook event page. And I clicked on the link. It's like, event does not exist. I'm like, son of a bitch. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was placeholder text, my bad.
But the event actually exists.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does. I just have to go in
Very
there
nice.
and change the picture and all that stuff. But anyways, if you're at MomoCon, come find us. If you're not going to be at MomoCon, our very good friend WhackKid47 has been promising that he will try to stream it live for us. So we, of course, if he does that, we will make sure that it streams through our channel as well as WhackKid47's. The next one.
Oh, sorry.
Alter Confusion every single year takes part in something called Extra Life. Extra Life, of course, is a charity organization that all the proceeds go to the Children's Miracle Network, and Alter Confusion plays exclusively for the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. I know a lot of individuals in Atlanta like to call it CHOA, C-H-O-A, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, but apparently the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta don't like being called CHOA, so I'm just going to call it the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
That's the first time I ever heard that.
So the official thing is on November at any time when you see us streaming or any time that we're live, or hell, we don't have to be live. You can donate however much you feel comfortable in donating, and all that money is tax deductible, and also it goes straight to that. It does not route to us and then go to them. So you don't have to worry about that.
I was worried.
You should not.
Okay.
Anyways, so if you want to create a team, or if you want to be an individual who does that 24-hour game-a-thon in November, there's still a shit ton of time to go to extra-life.org and sign up today.
That's like 7 months away, man. That's a long time.
I know.
I can't plan that far in advance.
Do it now. Start your campaign to get people to donate
I think
to you.
I'd start my training for the 24-hour gaming.
That too. You have to put
I have
yourself
to build
through
my
rigorous
stamina
training.
up.
Yeah, stamina and all
So
that
what
stuff.
I'm saying is I'm going to go home after game for
Sam
24 hours.
Grizzle, Zealeus has been gaming since my parents first got a 286 back in the day. Eventually we got a, oh, he's reading your profile on the website.
Nice. Oh, man.
Eventually we got the 486 and the eye of the beholder. I was hooked. So, as you might have noticed, Zealeus is ancient.
Yes, yeah. Oh, man, the 286, that brings back some memories.
Yes.
There was this game, and I've been trying to find it, but I cannot for the life of me.
What's that?
So it's a shoot-'em-up game,
Uh-huh.
and this was back on actually the same 486 SX that we played Eye of the Beholder on.
Top down?
Top-down shoot-'em-up. But the reason I remember, and this is Raptor Call of the Shadow, but the reason I remember the game distinctly is my buddy and I could play it at the same time. So, like, I don't remember exactly how it worked, but, like, one of us would, like, control the ship, and the other would control, not, like, the enemy, but something having to do with my ship. So we could both play at the same time.
So someone driving and someone shooting?
Something like that. It was something along those lines. But it was like, one of those top-down shoot-'em-up type of games, but we could both play at the same time. And that's the other game that stood out to me back in the day, along with Eye of the Beholder, was that game where we could both play at the same time.
Interesting.
It was a cool game. I don't know. I've never been able to find it. And I'm sure I never will. It's one. I mean, how many of those like random games do you play that they stand out in your mind for some random reason?
I'll tell you what. There is one game that Zealeus and I played way back in time, where if I could get a copy of it, immediately, Cyber Dogs. Dude, I'd still play the shit out of that today. That was so much fun.
You remember the site where we could still we can't get off it anymore because
yeah, it was
some underdogs or underdogs.
No, it's like Under Puppy, whatever it was. Oh my God.
Yeah, there was
that was so much fun.
Yeah, it was an old ware site, or I guess abandonware, that we use it. Yeah.
Sam Grizzle says, I vaguely remember a two-man helicopter fighter game. Terrible graphics. Well, let's be honest. If you look at the games that Zealeus and I basically played when we were young, we're still young, but when we were younger.
Way back in the day.
The graphics sucked bad in comparison to today.
Yes. You can only pull so much processing power out of a 486 computer.
Yes, it was.
Especially your
8-bit? Yeah, it was 8-bit. It would be 8-bit, right?
You figure back in the days when BBSs were, that's when you're still also playing your BBSs in Vogue, and you're talking not
Red
even
Dragon
bits.
Inn, man. Red Dragon Inn.
Yeah, Legend of the Red Dragon, Trade Wars. Yeah.
What was that one? Okay, now I'm really going to date myself, but there was a game that was a text-based adventure with simple graphics, and it was strictly a Prodigy game. Prodigy, of course, was once upon a time you had to do a dial-in service to get on the internet, like AOL.
Dial-up, yeah. Well, AOL had the same type of thing.
Right,
AOL had their own mud.
But Prodigy had like this adventure game. I want to say it's like mazes or something.
Yeah, I don't know
Prodigy also had a lot of Mad Libs, which was a shit ton of fun, and I printed out all that terrible story shit that I made. Anyways.
That was an interesting transition because it went from like basically Prodigy or AOL, whatever. It was like that was the internet for you.
Yeah.
It was like that service like encapsulated what you did.
Do you remember NetZero?
Oh yeah, I used NetZero. Well, the big game with NetZero. So for those who don't remember NetZero, the whole premise behind NetZero is it was dial-up service. It was free, with the catch. There were ads that would come on your screen. So of course the big game with NetZero is how can I access NetZero for free while not having to watch these required ads. So it was like
there was a way to get around it. You could turn off the ads. However, that NetZero box would never go away. It would be always on top.
Yeah.
And so you had to find a workaround on it. And that was back in the day where dual monitors was kind of like a new thing. And so I just throw that shit over to the monitor like, ah!
Yeah, I never had the dual monitors back in the day.
I was.
You were ahead of the time, man.
Yeah, the CRTs, 2 CRTs that basically heat up a room.
But the CRTs are still the best representation of the true image that you can get.
Anyways. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we've reached the end of our show, so I would like to thank everyone who joined in on all the awesomeness that is Ultra Confusion. Now remember, every single Thursday we do this show from 8 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If there is not a show, it's probably because Charlie, myself, has taken on the plague, which happened 2 weeks ago. But have no fear, we'll try to be here every single Thursday. Like I said, there might be some changes happening at the end of May. You'll have to stick around and find out. May? Were we in May now? No. At the end of May, Ultra Confusion's probably going to do a transition probably to YouTube, but we'll see. More to YouTube. There's still going to be a website and all that other stuff. But anyways.
We'll see, yeah.
Anyways, so remember, we also I do game streams Sundays and Tuesdays from 8 to 11. So be on the lookout for that, unless, of course, Battle and Brew wants to pick me up, and then that stream time extends in both directions. But I'll tell you if that happens. So anyways, thank you for tuning into the Ultra Confusion. Thank you for tuning in to the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. For myself, Charlie, and Zealeus, it's been a pleasure to give you everything coming out of our heads, our mouths, and of course, our hearts. We'll be back next Thursday for another rousing round of Thursday Night Hangouts. And of course, if you have any topics or questions that you'd like for us to talk about next Thursday, all you gotta do is hit us up through any of the Ultra Confusion channels. But until then, thank you for tuning in.
Remember, kids, keep on gaming in the free world.
Amen to that, brother.